All right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Maham, and you are joining us on day 3 of Learning with Me on our Scratch Camp. So, as you can see here today, it looks like we have a project that, if you've been following us so far, you've probably realized that we've been making projects every week so far, and you're probably a little bit more worried about understanding the code at this point than building the projects. So, with our 2 completed projects and the third one that we're going to do that looks like this, and I'll get to that later, let's look deeper into what exactly is happening in our codes and our code blocks. All right, so here we go. Our concepts for today are going to look at when statements, things related to if statements, variables, coordinates, and forever loops. So, as we talked about before, it's always important to reconnect with what exactly is a computer and what is coding so that we can build our knowledge and understanding around that, right? So, we talked about how computer is an electrical device that stores and outputs data. And then we talked about that coding is step by step instructions that a computer follows. And these are a couple languages out there: Python, block based coding on Scratch, HTML for websites. And all these help give the computer instructions. And then the coders, the developers, are the people that put it to life and they give the instructions, they give the command, just like how they put together a recipe, they put together the instructions that the computer needs to follow through on. Now, had we been a little bit more live with more students, we would play this game where I would try to ask you guys to say go, and then when I say go, students would have to type hello in the chat. But what if I ended up saying goldfish or goal? Obviously, some people would write hello and some people wouldn't because they'd be attentive. So that exactly is what we're trying to get at in Scratch. When statements in Scratch. So when exactly I say go, do something. So when something changes or some signal is sent on Scratch, then do the actual uh, code. So there are a lot of different ways of using a when statement, but they're more like if statements. There's obviously when green flag clicked, but in Scratch you'll find that that is the only when statement. The other ones are, well, after when this bright clicked and when left arrow key pressed. The other ones are more related to if statements. So we'll get to when statements first. When green flag clicked begins your code. You can't start a code without when green flag clicked because that's kind of like the play button of Scratch. When this bright clicked, you're going to find this in control, in the control section. And this is about maybe the user who's playing is clicking on different tools they want to put in the toolbox. So when they click on the tools, then the tool should move towards the toolbox, right? So this is going to wait till the person clicks when it feels a click from the cursor. When left arrow key pressed, when right arrow key pressed, when any key is pressed, this button looks at the ways that you can initiate and give a signal. So if you're playing Pac-Man and you want Pac-Man to go right or left, those are their arrow keys. So you have to use this when statement. These are all under events and control. The next part we're going to look at is variables. So we talked about variables before and we used variables in our last session. So let's take a deeper and more closer look at what exactly variables do. First and foremost, variables hold information. Now, what do I mean by information? Information is anything from numbers to any word. It could even be graphic. It could be a series of code. Variables hold information means that it's keeping track of something, right? That information can change. So just like how if I was moving houses, if you were moving from one house to the other, you're going to put and pack things in a box. You're going to open your box, you're going to put the item in, you're going to close the box, and you're going to take it to the next place and open it back up and change it out. So you've changed what was inside the box. The box is the variable that holds what you need it to hold. So in real life example, we use variables a lot, especially in bank accounts. So the money that you have held in the bank is held, right? The bank is your variable. Your bank account is the variable. It holds the amount of money you have. You can use an ATM to withdraw your money. You can do online e-transferring, and that is a way to withdraw money. That is a way to change the information in that bank account variable. Then you can add money to the account or take away from the account, right? Now, examples in real life coding of variables would be scores and timers and points and speed, right? We want to keep track of how many times the player has made a goal. We wanted to keep track of the timer. Maybe the timer is going down and we have a 30-second timer, or maybe we just want to see how long this person takes to solve the puzzle. We have points, similar to score. We have speed. So speed might be something that you want to be able to control. Sorry, speed might be something that you want to hold the information of so that you can use it later on in the code. Another example would be username, user age, anything really can be held in a variable. It's really up to the coder and what they need to create with it. So how do variables work in Scratch, right? Variables actually have their own section in Scratch. You have to go to the very, very, very bottom of the console, and you're going to see this orange variables button, and then this will pop up. Your first step to making a variable is to click on Make a Variable. Make a variable and you can call it something. You have to name your variable something. You can name it lives, you can make a timer, you can name it count, sum. This person just named it var1, var2. Now, once you've named your variable, let's say we called it count, our next step is these two pieces of code that are super duper important. We have the set count to something and we have change count by something. Setting count means you're initializing that variable. You're setting the variable to something. So if I'm starting the game with a count, I'm probably going to start it at 0. If I have lives, I might want to start it at 3 or 5 or 10, up to you. If I have speed and it's a car racing game, at the beginning, it might be 0. And then the person clicks something and it changes. And that change in the information, that change of what's in the variable, that is going to come from the change variable button or block. So we have step 1, step 2, step 3. You always need to make sure that you place the set command part right under the green flag. You always need to initialize first. And this is a rule in coding beyond Scratch, right? Even if you code in Python and Java, it's usually best, especially as a beginner, to initialize your variables at the very top. You can't change the value without setting a value first. Without having a set value, the computer, the variable, Scratch won't really know what you're talking about. Like, okay, where do I start at? Do I start at the value we already had previously? So you just always want to make sure that you're using the set count to 0 first, and then the change count by 1 or 5 or 10 later. Now change count by, you'll notice that these are both integers, they're both numbers, right? You can change count by 0.1. Maybe you're trying to keep count of seconds and you're realizing that, okay, the seconds I want in my game might be a little bit faster or slower. So maybe I want to change them by 0.1 or 0.5. Right? So they're all numbers and they're all up to you. You can't change a variable by adding letters to it from this section. You can do it in a different way though, and we will get to that. Now, a very important piece to Scratch is the output display, because the output display is based off of a coordinate grid. So you're going to notice that there's actually, in Scratch, they have a X and Y plane and a point called 0, 0. Right, so this is your origin, and you've probably learned this at school too. Your x-axis is the horizontal one, your y-axis is the vertical one, and these coordinates are all pixels. There are 240 pixels to the right and left, and then 180 pixels going up and down. So coordinates, this is how they work, right? You're going to have the x value first and the y value second, and you're going to meet them together somewhere. So if I look at Scratch the Cat here, I'm going to notice that, okay, so x is orange. I'm going to go on x, and he's really close to 100, but he's not 100. He's like a 90. So we're at 0.90 on the x-axis. And then look at the y-axis. Where is he at? Is his past 50, more like an 80. So Scratch the Cat here would be at 90, 80. I'm putting together the points, right? From the x-axis and the y-axis. So each pixel is its own thing. Now, coordinates aren't just used in Scratch, as you know. They're used in maps, they're used in GPSs, they're used in cryptography, they're used in a bunch of stuff. So knowing your positions is very important because if you want your code to interact with other pieces of sprites, you want to be able to make sure that it looks visually right, right? And it also impacts how your game is going to be played. Now, here are some coding blocks. Again, we want to bring this back to coding blocks in Scratch that are kind of important for coordinates. Again, these are all motion blocks. So when you click on the blue section, you're going to find motion blocks, and they are filled with blocks of code that are related to movement and display on the screen. So movement blocks are going to include go to random position. If I use this button in my code under when green flag clicked, my scratch the cat here is going to be here, and then the next time it might be here, it might be here, it might be here, it might be here. It could be anywhere on the screen. It is completely random. It's a completely random coordinate because I didn't assign that coordinate, right? I purposely wanted it to be random. Maybe that's how I'm going to make the mouse and cat game that we made previously. That was a little bit random. If we go to x equals something, y equals something. So this is when the user decides that I want to make sure that I have this specific sprite at a specific spot. So go to x something, y something. I'm going to have my cat maybe specifically start off in the corner. Or maybe I'm going to have my Space Invaders little guy specifically start at x equals 0, y equals negative 180. So I'm going to type that I want at the center bottom, x 0, y negative 180. So these are this is just going to be showing up at a position. Now we have some commands. Glide 1 second to random position, glide 1 second to x is something, y is something. Gliding 1 second, we'll look at this first part, and then we'll look at the second part. Glide 1 second means that it's going to take a whole 1 second to go across the screen. And it doesn't matter how far or how close it is. Gliding 1 second is defining how long that action will take. So if I actually don't want my cat to take a whole second to get here, I can make it smaller. I can say glide 0.5 seconds. So it'll get there in half the time. Maybe I want it to take a really, 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 really long time, and I want it to go from here all the way there. I could say glide 3 seconds, and it's going to take 3 whole seconds to get there. So the rule is, the bigger this number, the longer it takes, so the slower the action is going to be. The second part, to random position. So we can make it glide here and here. I can also change this. You'll notice it have like a little triangle here, triangle here. You can change this to go towards the cursor. Go where the cursor is. The cursor is your mouse pointer. You can also change it to glide 1 second to a specific sprite. So if we could actually click on this, it might show you like other sprites that you have in your Scratch account. You can glide towards that. And finally, we have glide 1 second to x is something, y is something. So we've specified a specific point that it needs to be at, and it takes 1 second to get there. Now we get to our next part, which looks at forever loops. Forever and ever and ever and ever continuous loops. So usually I would ask a volunteer to give us to step in, and we'd ask them to say hello and to keep saying hello, my name is something, until we said stop. And that person would keep going forever. Oops. It would keep going forever. So until I told them to stop. So the same way in Scratch, we can ask something to happen forever and ever and ever and ever. So what you need to do is to tell your computer to do something forever by having a forever loop. Forever loop is going to be under your orange button called control. And basically, as the name suggests, anything in it will happen forever. So if you wanted to change the background to make it look like a moving background, you can make it change forever. You can make the character move 5 steps and then bounce off if it's on the edge. You can make the character keep going up. You can make the character keep spinning around. Anything that goes in the forever loop will happen. It will not break. So it's going to continue to happen until the game is over. So that is one thing you do want to be careful of. If you only want something to happen temporarily, then you might not want to use the forever loop. You may want to use the repeat loop. All right. And our next part is going to look over again at where all these blocks are. So we can see in the picture here that there is the motion part and motion and we can see that there's the move blocks, there's the turning blocks, there's go to random position, and then there is all these other things. Then we bring them to our processing section, we drag all our commands here, and then they would output and display out here. Now, we were going to start a coding project, but we obviously wanted to build on the foundation first, so that's why I went over all of these concepts. And in our next session, we're going to be talking about building the actual project. The actual project that we're going to build is going to be this. So it's all ready, it's all good to go, but we wanted you guys to be able to revise the concepts. In this project, I want you guys to take a closer look at what is happening. So we have a big blue ball, we have a pink ball, and then we have this red line. And we can see these are the things that are interacting. A big blue ball, a pink ball, and the red line. And when the pink ball touches the red line, you win. So the user is the blue ball. The user is controlling the rotation of the ball, and the pink ball is just a byproduct. It is just falling, depending on that. So I want you guys to be able to, for the next class, be ready with ideas on how we can create this. In fact, let's actually get started and get into it and start it, and we'll see if we can continue next time because we do have a little bit of extra time today. So let's take a look. I'm going to try to share my screen one more time here, and we can actually get started on Scratch right away. So in Scratch, you're going to want to open a Scratch. What's this? You're going to want to open under the Create tab under Scratch and have the stuff ready to go. And we're going to be creating the game Touch the Red for next time. So I want you guys to be able to become familiar with the sounds, the events, the control, and all these different features so that next time we are good to go. I hope you guys enjoyed the lessons for today. It was more focused on the concepts, so we didn't get into coding. We are going to be coding Touch the Red next time. And I hope to see you guys in our next session next Sunday. Thank you.